what does it mean that you didn't want to exclude a larger audience? At what point in writing, in the work, this aspect comes in?
Part of it is I'm sort of a slut of a reader. I like to be entertained. I don't like it to be work to read page after page after page. I get impatient. I like a story. I mean, novels are stories. It's a very powerful thing that novels do. They pull you along through this sense of identification with characters engaged actively in dramatic narratives. So I was just trying to write a kind of book I might like to read. So no 20-page stretches in italics with no paragraph breaks. None of that stuff. And a relative clarity, so you weren't guessing. I had a problem with difficulty. I didn't want to be too difficult, just because I don't like difficult books very much. I mean, Proust is difficult, but Proust is so rewarding because every sentence is so amazing and every sentence is so full of thought. That doesn't seem like work to me. That seems like good difficulty. That's difficulty I feel exhilarated, like climbing a mountain or something. But the rest of it is I come from the Midwest, and even though I'm not sure the Midwest means anything as a concept, I once was doing a BBC radio program in England, and the interviewer came on and it basically attacked me in a nice way, in a friendly way, a joking way, but nonetheless a very real way, and said, I defy you to name one thing that is specific to the Midwest that cannot be found anywhere else. His contention was that the Midwest, we're talking about the middle part of the country, excluding the South, sort of starts in Ohio, if you know where that is, goes as far as Nebraska. He said, Midwestern is a meaningless concept. And I, after 20 minutes, had to accept that he was right. So I'm saying Midwest means nothing. Nevertheless, the particular place I came from and the particular parents I had were very much anti-elitist. They were very egalitarian. They thought the worst thing you could do was exclude people. So it's really kind of it's a very important artistic axiom for me that you not deliberately keep out readers who might want to come along. And so that was part of it too. Always, you know, obviously not everyone likes to read books, and I think it's a privilege to read morally complicated books. Most people like moral simplicity because they have hard lives. But to at least have it be an option, so it's not like you're on the first page and it's so weird that you can't get into it. I like to try to include people.
It's interesting what you say of this phenomenon of Midwest, saying that after 20 minutes you realize that, okay, it's not there. Because in one of your interviews in the beginning, there's a summary of the books you've written so far, and it says that it's stories about families from the Midwest who are nurturing their lives and families, and the collapse begins when they are meeting the rest of the world. So it makes the reader think that there is this phenomenon, there is this something, there must be something behind this thing, behind this Midwest.
Yes. I think that the concept of the Midwest is real because it matters to the people who believe themselves to be Midwestern. And there's a particular dynamic between being a Midwesterner and being a New Yorker. New Yorkers construct the idea of the Midwest. Midwesterners construct the idea of New York. The two define each other. And if you're a certain kind of Midwesterner like me, you want to go to New York. You want to leave that and go to New York. But there are also New Yorkers who grew up in New York and want to reinvent themselves and have a simpler, more innocent life. They go to the Midwest, which is kind of what freedom is about. It's a New Yorker who does that. Yeah, I did the family thing for a while. My new book is doesn't have any Midwest and really doesn't have a family to speak of. So I may have run my course, but I come here and it's like, oh, you're a family novelist. It's like, like at Freedom, I don't think we ever see the entire family together. It's just a kind of organizing principle. It's a way to get quick and easy drama.
Of Freedom, you said that there are recurring themes, your favorite topics come back in that novel, but you had the intention to make a better job. What does it mean to make a better job? How did you mean it? How is it sensible from the book? Is it something that you as a writer see that you made sure your techniques is better, or in what sense did you mean you wanted to do a better job?
It's a problem for any writer that you have a limited supply of experience. And if you want to spend your whole life writing novels, and you're not content to do secondary material, something you found in a history book about an interesting year in the 1800s, if you want the stuff to be vital and have something to do with your own experience, I think at a certain point you have to start going back to the things you treated earlier. And of course, families look very different to me when I was 28 and working on Strong Motion than they did to me when I was 48 and started to think about freedom. So that's part of it. And yeah, I think I still like Strong Motion okay. I'm a little embarrassed that 27th City is still floating around. I think that was a really, really smart kid who wrote that. But it's just entirely alien to me. So in fact, in this new book that's coming out in the fall in the US, I went back and tried to redo the 27th City because I'm better, yeah. And as long as you can come up with a new cast of distinctive characters, I can't be everything as much as I'd like to be. I'd love to suddenly be able to, write like Faulkner for a while, or be Dostoevsky, or be Flaubert. But I'm not. I'm just like, there's a limited number of modalities that I contain. So all I can do is try to do it better.
When you feel this alienness with that you who has been 20 years ago, or 25?
I wrote the 27th City when I was 25. Okay. So that is an indecent number of years ago. It's 30 years ago this year.
But does it happen with the other previous books that you've written? So should there be such a long time passing to make one feel that that particular person who has once been me is so far, it's so different?
I have a very 70s notion of what writing is, and part of what that is that it's a process of becoming. I think the writer who isn't changed in the course of writing a book hasn't done the job. You set yourself a task that you are currently not equal to, and try to become the person who's equal to that task, and you do change. So, I'm not sure I understood the question, though.
Okay, so it was about this feeling of looking at the previous you with a feeling of alienation. And should there be a long time passing in order to feel that? Or does it happen when you look back to the Jonathan Franzen you've been 10 years ago?
It has happened that it can be only 10 years. I found myself in 2008 when I was starting to get to work on freedom, not even able to understand how angry I'd been when I was writing the corrections. Many good things had happened. Suddenly I had an audience. Suddenly I didn't have to worry about money. Suddenly, for the first time in my life, I was in a happy domestic relationship, one that I was in voluntarily with no sense of coercion. And that I woke up happy every day to be in. And so there was just, I still have reserves of anger, but it just seemed like I have no right to be angry. And there was a loss there because I think in the corrections, a lot of humor comes out of anger and aggression. You feel the right to be really hard on people and to put them into awful situations, make fun of them, laugh at them, and I feel that I've lost some of the edge to my humor because I'm not so angry anymore. So that's a loss. But yeah, it happened pretty quickly. Oh, also I also started watching birds in those years, and that changed things too.
I think you just have to explain that.
Oh. Explain what?
It's like, what's the fun part of that?
What's the fun part of that?
Yeah.
Of bird watching?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was a nice literary conversation, and for the next half hour I will talk about birds. You really want to get me going?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I was attacked by a crow, which was like a horrifying experience.
Attacked by a crow, yes.
Yeah, I was. And I'm not saying I don't like birds, because I like them, but I'm deeply, honestly curious about what's the biggest fun in watching them out there.
If it involved frequent attacks by crows, I probably would consider it not so fun either.
Thank you.
I've been attacked by seagulls. I have felt in danger when surrounded by a large group of vultures. That was in Florida. I was walking down a road and I came across this group of maybe 50 vultures. We have several vultures in the New World, and they're birds. So what are birds supposed to do when you start to walk down the road and there's a group? They're supposed to get out of the way. And they sort of got out of the way a little bit, but suddenly I found myself completely surrounded and they were not going any further away. And I thought, I don't like this, and kind of ran. So I get it. Birds are scary. They are the descendants of dinosaurs. You feel that sometimes. Well, they're beautiful. They fly. That's cool. They sing. They build nests. They take baths. Crows are really smart. There's great YouTube footage of a crow with this piece of plastic on a roof, a steep roof in Russia somewhere, flies up to the top of the roof, sits on the piece of plastic, sleds down the side of the roof, picks up the piece of plastic, goes back, does it over, just like a kid, sledding down, you know. What? So crows, scary, yes, but also wonderful. Smartest birds in the world, crows. So they're interesting. There are many different kinds, but there are not too many. You know, if I were watching beetles, well, there are a million species, so it's kind of hopeless I would never get any farther than 1 square meter of the backyard if I were a beetle watcher. And some of them are common, so you're seeing them every day, and you're getting to know them. Some of them are very uncommon, and it's fun to go and try to find them. It's like hunting, except you don't kill things. So there's kind of a collector mentality. The list of species seen. But I also find that it's a way to experience a landscape. A landscape with birds in it is doing something right. I mean, if there's enough of a variety of birds in a place to make it interesting to me, it means it's not a totally dead place. And it gets you to all these, it becomes a pretext for traveling to the parts of the world you wouldn't ordinarily go to. Like, I spent half my life, you know, okay, we've arrived in Tuscany, and now I will go to the museum, and I will go to the Duomo, and I'll do all of these things, and now I don't have to do anything more like that, because I say, now let's go to the sewage treatment plant, because that's where the interesting birds are in Florence. And so you're like, all the tourists are going this way, and the birdwatcher is going this way to these really, because birds have been driven out of all the good places, and they basically only have crappy places left where they can breed and be happy. So it's a different way of experiencing the world. It's a different way of experiencing landscape, and it's always present. Even in New York City, you can see crazy things. I've seen rare birds out the back of my window in the middle of Manhattan, in the trees, during the spring when they're migrating through. You're sitting having lunch in an outdoor cafe. The ear is always working. What am I hearing? What am I hearing? And it's just this extra dimension of the world, which once you're onto it, is kind of amazing. You know, you're 500 miles out to sea, or you're in the middle of a desert. Birds are there.